former NBA player Enes Freedom doubled down against the movement to allow trans women to compete in sports. I know this is a very, very controversial topic among some people. So now I'm going to show you a tweet here. Men don't belong in women's spaces, restrooms, locker rooms, or sports. Since I'm blackballed from the NBA, should I put on a wig, identify as a woman, and start dominating the WNBA? Is that what the outrage will begin? Is it fair to all the women who spent their whole lives, her whole life, chasing their goals? Where are all the women's rights activists and feminists? Well, the vast majority of them are saying trans rights. That's where they are. So, look, number one, I love how stupid transphobes are. They're some of the dumbest people in the world, okay? There's dumb and then there's ignorant. It's okay to be ignorant because you can be educated. It's not okay to be willfully stupid like this guy. They literally believe that all you have to do is put on a wig and suddenly you're considered transgender. That's not how it works. You're just a person in a wig. Okay? Look, you have to go through an entire process, getting a diagnosis of gender dysphoria before you're prescribed hormone replacement therapy, which reduces your muscle mass, among other things. And depending on the sport, you've got to be on AHRT for sometimes years before you're allowed to play professionally. And so that's a way, by the way, where they prevented people from coming in and doing exactly what Enes Freedom Cantor, or Enes Cantor Freedom, I don't really care which order you put it into at this point, claims. But he's going to continue saying stupid things, this time on America's Newsroom.
I mean, I did get actually a lot of support. I mean, would that be fair? You know, I am 7 foot, 270 pounds. And if I decided to identify myself as a woman and decided to play in WNBA, put on a wig, and I changed my name to just say Anisha, would that be fair to all the women, you know, who chasing their dreams since they were a little kid? Okay. So if I want to show a point, actually, I can just put a wig on and just call some couple GMs in WNBA and say, hey, sign me, you know, and maybe I should do that, and that will show my point. Actually, you know, I will average.
They see you
60
coming.
Points.
I would average 60 points. It wouldn't be fair. I mean, I'm 7 foot, 270 pounds. Yeah, you're pretty tall and you're pretty heavy. Guess what? For hormones, if you're on hormones for long enough, you're going to lose muscle mass. Now, you lose muscle mass, you're going to lose some weight. Because, you know, muscle weighs. Makes sense, right? Now, on the height, would there be an advantage? Sure. It's an advantage for anybody. I'm not going to, say that, oh, no, the height advantage totally nullified, right? But here's the kicker. Turns out, cisgender women can also be very tall. There can be, yes, very tall cisgender women. I know, right? Crazy. Let me give you a couple examples. One of them is Liz Cambage, who assigned female at birth, not a transgender woman, identifies as a woman, born as a woman. She is 6'9", 222 pounds. Pretty tall. Now, she currently plays for the Israeli Female Basketball Premier League, but has played for other WNBA teams. In fact, she was, in 2018, the WNBA peak performer. She is a 4-time WNBA All-Star in 2011, 2018, 2019, and 2021. The member of the All-WNBA First Team, also a member of the All-WNBA Second Team, and, of course, in 2018 was the WNBA scoring leader. So there's some accomplishments there, and among other things, she's also been through some controversy involving the Nigerian women's team. And so I'm not going to get into that, but another example, Han Shu. Han Shu is a Chinese basketball player, again, assigned female at birth, okay, identifies as a woman, and she has played for the New York Liberty. She is 6'10", 193 pounds. Pretty tall. She's actually the second tallest player in league history. So now, here's the thing though, right? He talks about how if trans women get into sports, then they're going to just immediately dominate the entire WNBA. But wait, there's already trans and non-binary players in the WNBA, and they're not dominating. Now, one of them is Laisha Clarendon. Now, Laisha Clarendon is transgender but identifies as non-binary. So they had entered the league all the way back in 2013 as the first openly trans and non-binary WNBA player. They currently play for the Los Angeles Sparks and won WNBA All-Star back in 2017. So now hold on here. I just compared Liz Cambage, who again played in the WNBA, right, with a trans non-binary player. I thought, according to Enes Freedom, that the transgender person will always dominate the cisgender person when that's not the case. I mean, all you need to do, though, he told me, is you just have to put on a wig, right? You have to put on a wig. Turns out, no. So here's the thing. There's so much ignorance around this, okay? And also, by the way, there's a lot of sexism, there's a lot of misogyny, and also trans misogyny. So now first, this assumes that all women athletes are weak and they suck and it could never ever compare to a male athlete. That biology is 100% determinative under any and all circumstances. So if you're a man, automatically, if you have a penis, then that means that you win sports. And there's no contest at all. If you were to put me in there, suddenly I would just completely obliterate the entire WNBA. No, that's not true. That's not true. The penis is not a magic I win button. Okay? Or, well, lever in this case. No. Now, secondly, the assumption here is that there are men that are so terrible and weak at men's sports that their only way that they could ever win is to compete against women, who, again, according to their beliefs, aren't real athletes. Again, the beliefs of transphobes. So these are the assumptions these transphobes carry into these conversations about sports. And they cloak it with the veneer of, I just want fairness in women's sports. Now, look, there's a lot of normal people that have also been kind of duped and roped into having these positions because they don't really know any better, right? And so those are the people that you can talk to and be like, well, actually, no, you have to be on hormones for a certain amount of time, and this is what the effect that hormones have when you're on hormone replacement therapy, and this is why it's actually not a bad thing to allow transgender women to compete in women's sports. And by the way, there's never seems to be any issue with transgender, men competing in male sports. They seem to be fine with that. That's never seems to be an issue here. Again, the people who have taken transphobia up as a mantle and pretty much, I think, use it to monetize themselves, to, be on this, the side of this so-called, crusade on these issues in order to help brand themselves and ingratiate themselves with certain people. Their claim of, I want fairness, kind of falls apart. Because think about it, like, one of the biggest issues here is for women's sports is the fact that that the athletes don't get paid. Not very well. So if you ask them about, hey, you care about women's sports, right? You say you care about women's sports. What do you think about, fair pay for female athletes, bringing them up sort of on par to male athletes? That's a pretty big issue, right? Something tells me, though, that their response, if you ask that question, would be,
can't let that happen.
Nope. Oh, no, we're not talking about that. And you know why? It's because it's not about fairness. Look, fairness, again, we don't have trans women dominating sports. The few trans women that are in there, yeah, sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. Look, even Leah Thomas, who they'd love to point out, she's not dominating her sport. She's lost to cisgender women plenty of times, which of course has led to transphobes making these ridiculous arguments. Oh, you understand? She only lost because she threw the game. She threw the match. Lost on purpose, you see. Well, wait, if the whole purpose was to dominate women's sports, and that's why you got in there in the first place, then why would you lose on purpose? Why would you throw the game? That doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense when you drill down to it. TERF ideology makes no sense. And look, at the end of the day, it's just naked bigotry. It is transphobia. And from this guy, it's from a person who basically wants to stay relevant now that he's no longer in the NBA and is now using political points to try to claim that that is why he's no longer part of the NBA. He thinks he was pushed out because of his so-called right-wing activism and being part of the MAGA crowd, when really it's not. But he's just trying to leverage that in order to gain celebrity on the right wing, because it's easier for someone to monetize themselves on the right by being a hateful bigot. It just makes you money, and it gets you fame, and it gets you press. And so for some people, why not do that when being a decent and good human being doesn't get you any advantages in this space? So for some people, they're just going to naturally gravitate towards being an insufferable douche.